welcome to another video brought to you by AllFreeJewelryMaking.com and KeepsakeCrafts.net. Today we'll be making this pretty pink glass bead and crystal bracelet. So I bought this strand of large hole glass beads without really thinking about what I was going to do with them. I just thought they were pretty. But the more I thought about it, I decided I didn't want to get into the very wide chain that these are usually strung on, and I decided to do something different. I decided to incorporate these large 10 millimeter bicone beads, hoping that they would nestle right into those large holes and make a rather interesting bracelet. So that's what we're going to make today. So you'll need some glass beads like these with the large holes, bicone beads. You'll need a few smaller beads. These came right on this strand with the bicones. So you'll need a few of those. You'll need a toggle clasp, 2 split rings or jump rings. You'll need some bead stringing wire and crimp beads to go along with it. So I've gone ahead and arranged my beads in the order I would like them in my bracelet, and I've also cut a piece of bead stringing wire quite a bit longer than I think I'm going to need. I think this one's about 14 inches. And I have this wonderful little tool, and if you have any friends who work in medical or dental, ask them to get you a pair of hemostats that they're going to be throwing out. These are fantastic for just gripping the end and holding it, and then your beads aren't going to escape off the other end of your strand. Alternatively, you could slide on a seed bead and tie a couple knots. Just make some kind of a bead stop. And then it's simply a matter of stringing on the glass beads alternating with the crystals. And I really like the way this looks. See how they just nestle right in there. Show you. And it just kind of makes a really pretty flexible strand of beads. So I'm going to go ahead and finish stringing these, and then I'll show you how to finish it up. So here I've gone ahead and strung all of my glass beads alternating with the bicones, and you can see it really stretches those beads. It makes a very pretty strand. Now when you're using a toggle clasp to make a bracelet, you need to be a little bit more exact about getting bracelets that will fit. I often like to make mine adjustable, but a toggle clasp isn't. So I know that for a bracelet to fit me, it needs to be 7.5 inches long. And you always add an inch for a clasp. So I need my strand of beads to be 6.5 inches long. And right now this is 5.5. Which is fine, because the other thing when you use a toggle clasp is the end that has the bar has to have something kind of skinny, like a string of these smaller beads, so that you can bend it. If you have a big chunky bead there, like if you ended with one of these, you couldn't bend this to get it into the open portion of the clasp. So what I'm going to do now is just string on a few of these smaller beads that were included with the strand of bicone. Let's see what we've got now. Now we have just about 6.5 inches. I think I may add another bicone to the end here, because if you look at these beads from the side, they've got some thickness. So actually, a bracelet that lies flat around the wrist would need to be 7.5, but since this is standing out from the wrist a bit because of the thickness of the beads, you actually need a little bit more length. So I'm going to add another bicone to this end. Actually, I'm going to steal one of these and just put it in between. Uh-oh, look what I just did. Not too bad. That's what you get for being close. There we go. bicone, a little bead just for a kind of a spacer, and then another bicone. And let's see. Okay, now it's just over 6.5 inches, so I think that will be good. So I'm going to be safe and clamp my hemostats on one end and work on the other end for the moment. I need to get out a crimp bead. And when you look at your wire, that when you purchase it, it will tell you what size. This says use crimp bead number 1 or tube number 2 with this particular size of wire. So make sure when you're buying it that you also get the same tubes. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put my clasp on the split ring. Split rings are one of those things that it's kind of a love-hate relationship. What they are is they are a jump ring. Let's see if I can put this so you can see it. It's a jump ring, basically, that goes around twice. And it's very secure. However, it's also a pain in the neck, which is why we have this special little tool for opening split rings. It's got a little tooth that you pop in there, and then you can bend it, and it spreads that open for you, so you can put on things like toggle clasps. And then I often use a pair of chain nose pliers to grab it. Kind of like putting keys on a key ring. There. Okay, so now that's not going to go anywhere because this is kind of a heavy bracelet and I really wanted it to be very secure. So then we slide on our crimp, slide on the split ring, and I'm going to trim off that bit that got kind of mashed and distorted by the hemostats. Now we slide back through our crimp. Don't need to be that long. And the first side's always easiest because you don't have to worry so much about getting it snug. You don't want to make it too tight. Now I have crimping pliers, but I've never been happy with the results. So I like to just use chain nose pliers. Get your 2 wires that are coming through your crimp bead. Get them so that they're lying right flat next to each other. And then take your chain nose pliers and squash your crimp bead flat so that both those wires are flattened. Now before you do anything else, give it a good hard tug and make sure it's not going anywhere. And next, slide that wire end up through several of the beads on your bracelet. Do one more. And then trim the excess, being careful only to trim the excess. So there's one end done. And then you do the other end just the same way. Put your toggle clasp on the split ring and put on your crimp it, slide it down through the beads and trim off the excess. So here's another look at our finished bead bracelet. I hope you've enjoyed this project and that you'll give it a try. Please check out keepsakecrafts.net for more jewelry and crafting ideas and inspiration. Thanks for watching.